Hi guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. My name is Nina if you're new here. I make Christian content on TikTok and I'll leave my TikTok right here. I also just started an Instagram page that I'm very active on and I'll leave it right here. So on this side of YouTube, we get into godly content. I talk a little bit about the Bible. I write my own prayers, so I elaborate on those and I tell you how you can use these tools and these prayers in your everyday life. Today's YouTube video and today's message is really going to revolve around why God leaves you in uncomfortable situations and why he doesn't yank you out of them when you're begging and pleading for him to pull you out of these uncomfortable and these chaotic and these dark seasons. I always start off with a prayer, so today's prayer will be a prayer to start the month of May. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing me into a new month. May this be a month of grace, new beginnings, and divine alignment. May you bring me positivity and prosper me in every area of my life, spiritually, emotionally, financially, mentally, relationally, and physically. May doors open that no man can shut, and may every closed door be a blessing in disguise. God, may you remove the things and the people that are not aligned with my purpose. Cut away distractions, uproot toxicity, and clear my path. May this month come with more faith, more favor, and more focus. Help me walk away from what drains me and walk boldly into what you have prepared for me, Lord. May I move in clarity and not confusion, peace and not chaos. Lord, I trust you in this new month of movement, miracles, and maturity. I surrender every plan and I put it into your hands. In Jesus' name, amen. I wrote some notes and I just wanted to share them with you and then we can kind of elaborate. Sometimes God doesn't fix your situation. He gets into the situation with you because it is his priority to resolve it. So he says, I could fix this if I wanted to, but I want you more than I want you to get out of this situation. And by that, I mean, if being in this situation is going to cause you to get closer to God, then what God will do is he will step into the situation, into the darkness, into the chaos, into the uncomfortable with you. God's purpose is not to make you comfortable. God's purpose is to step into the uncomfortable with you. Because if you can overcome a situation that God steps into, you become a lot more faithful and obedient to God. You trust God even more. Now, if you are in a situation or you're dealing with a certain circumstance right now in your life, and you are begging God to take you out of this inconvenient season, now God can definitely pull you out of it. But what will you learn? What will you learn if God yanks you out of this situation that you are so desperately trying to get out of? What will you learn? If you stay in this situation and you stay in this chaos and you live in this darkness and you sit and marinate in the heavy weight with God in it, he will take you out of it with his help, with his guidance. But sometimes we have to sit in these seasons because the season is what God is using to call you closer to him. If God has you sitting in an uncomfortable season right now in your life and you are begging him to pull you out of it, sit for a minute and think, if God takes me out of this right now, even though it hurts, it might be for my growth. It might be for a purpose. I'm going to read you something I wrote. If all God did was pull you out of that storm, out of that darkness, out of that chaos, out of that season of your life that is draining you, that makes you feel like you are drowning, if he pulled you out of that every single time you were in it, you would be comfortable because you know that as soon as you enter a season that is heavy, God's got me. He's pulling me right out. It'll only take a few seconds. But if God forces you to sit in that season and drown in that heavy weight and walk in that darkness, and you overcome it with God and he steps into that darkness with you, and he steps into that chaos with you, and he is your strength during the season that the weight of life is weighing you down, then you become a lot more faithful and a lot more obedient to God. If he pulled us out of every situation that became heavy, that weighed us down, that became dark, that was inconvenient, if he pulled us out of every single one of those situations and those seasons in life, what do we gain? We gain nothing but to be comfortable enough to call on God to pull us out in a matter of seconds. Sometimes we have to sit in seasons longer than we expected to sit in them because God's calling is so big over our life. Sometimes we have to go through lesson after lesson after lesson because the calling that God has on our life is much bigger than something that we could fathom. And a lot of us sit here and we're like, but if we're sitting in darkness for so long and we keep praying to God and we keep begging God and we're being obedient to God, we're listening to what he's telling us, but somehow we're still stuck in darkness. We ask God, why am I still sitting in this? Why are you making me go through this? John 11, verse 35 says Jesus wept. This means when Jesus was going through all of this chaos, all of these dark seasons, carrying the cross when it got heavy, going through people manipulating him and making fun of him and slandering his name, and Jesus kept walking, but he wept. When you seek God and when you cry out to God and you tell him that I need you, God, that does not mean God's going to pull you out of that season. That means God's going to meet you right where you are. God is going to walk with you right where you are. So we cannot expect every single season of our life that's dark. We can't expect God to yank us right out because sometimes we have to sit in it to grow. So I encourage you, something I tell myself is faith over comfort. And having faith does not mean peace. Having faith means you believe God even in the chaos. You believe God even in the storm. You believe God even when things aren't going your way. You believe God when things aren't going as you planned, because it is God's plan. And the more faith you have in God, especially in the seasons where you are lacking hope, where you see no way out, where the road or the path ahead seems uncertain or dark, when you have faith in times like that, that is when you're showing God how obedient you are. When you believe God, even when everything feels like it's in shambles, when everything is falling apart, you just got your head above water and boom, you're back under. You still believe God when you feel like you're drowning. You believe God when you feel like you have no fight left, because he is your strength where you are weak. Daniel 3, verse 25 says, I see 4 men, unbound, walking around in the fire, unharmed, and the 4th looks like a god. Now that 4th man was Jesus, the Son of God. And did you hear what the Bible just said? Walking around in the fire, unharmed. And the 4th looks like a god. God will meet you right where you are. Do you hear me? In that darkness, like I said, when you feel like you are drowning, stop going off on your own strength. Stop trying to walk yourself out of these seasons and out of this chaos on your own. The God we serve is almighty. The God we serve is capable of miracles if you just believe in him. The more that we depend on our own strength, the deeper we dig ourselves into destruction. If you would just trust God in the seasons where you are anxious and you are frustrated and you don't know which way to go, trust the one that has mapped out the path for you, and you will be unharmed. When we try to lead ourselves out of these seasons, we don't even know where we're going. Like, if you depend more on God and stop depending on your own understanding, that is when you will start to know what peace feels like. That's when you will start to walk the path that God has aligned for you. But a lot of us, we get in these seasons of chaos. We get in these seasons where things are just not going our way. Oh, I mapped out this for myself. I want to go to school for this. And then by this age, I want to become this. And by this age, I want to have kids. But I want to be married first. And I want to have a home first. And then maybe I'll move here. Wait. Have you even consulted with God first? Have you even prayed about a single one of those things? Have you asked God to prepare you to be a wife? Have you asked God to prepare the man that is going to be your husband to be a husband, to know God for himself? Have you prayed over the location that you are trying to move to? Will it bring you peace? Or does it just look nice? Have you prayed for God to form your body into a temple so that you can conceive a child? Have you prayed to God? Have you asked God who he wants you to be and what he wants you to be used for? Is that occupation you going off on your own strength, or is it an occupation that God led you into? We have to be more obedient. We have to be more disciplined. We have to use discernment and wisdom. Yes, many things will bring you money in this life. There's many things that may bring you peace and joy, but will it be forever lasting? There are people that you may meet that might spark your mind or spark your interest, but are they good for your soul? There are jobs that we walk ourselves into because we are so desperate for an income, or we are so desperate to just be on a payroll and get paid and be able to pay our bills. If you stop leading yourself into places that you haven't talked to God about, it would be a lot more aligned. Your path would be a lot more peaceful. We panic, so we go off on our own free will. We go off on our own strength. If you just stop for a minute, God will meet you right where you are. Let me read you this. If you're in something today, or you're facing a current battle, and God hasn't fixed it yet, I want you to remember and recognize his presence. Look for him in it and not just for the outcome. Look for God during this season that you are sitting in, and don't look for him just when things become inconvenient. Look for God's presence. God is not only our leader, our father, but he's our companion. Sometimes we have to sit in the season with God next to us so he can teach us the lesson. I don't think you're hearing me. Sometimes God is not only our leader and our father who will pull us out of situations, but he is also our companion, and he will meet us right in that season, right in that situation. God will walk through it with us and help us overcome it, because he knows that as long as he is present in the chaos, in the darkness, in the quiet seasons, in the isolation, as long as he is with us, he knows that we will not fall. He knows that we will not fail because he's right there. Sometimes we look at our situations as inconveniences, as downfalls, as setbacks. But start shifting your mindset and looking at these seasons that we sit in as opportunities, as growth, as preparation, as protection. We are so quick to take the situations that seem so terrible and just label them. This is awful. God, get me out of this. Why am I going through this? Thank God for the opportunity. Thank God for building you and molding you into the person that you are supposed to be, that he's calling you to be. Thank God for the opportunity to go through the chaos, because when you overcome that chaos with the help of God, because he's sitting in it with you, the next time an obstacle comes your way, you're going to be so strong, you're going to walk through it like nothing happened. You're going to sit there and realize, I just made it through something that was sent to drown me. I just made it through something that was sent to destroy me. So start looking at these inconveniences as opportunities to build a connection with God, as opportunities to get closer to God. Sometimes God has you sitting in seasons so that you will call on him, so that you will get closer to him. Because God knows if you don't go through this season or you don't sit in this chaos or this darkness, you will never seek him. Problems in our lives come to develop us or direct us. God might be causing things to disrupt your path because he may be calling you towards something that you would not walk towards without that disruption, without that chaos, without that obstacle. There are things in this life that God is calling you to do, and you are not willingly walking towards them. You are not willingly trusting God. You are not willingly allowing God to lead you. You'd rather go that way because in your mind, it makes more sense. Because why am I going to trust a path that I can't see? This way, if I go this way, I've already mapped it out for myself. Why am I going to walk with God if I'm unsure or it's uncertain or the path ahead is a little foggy? I can't see the end goal. That's not for you to know. It's for you to find out. God knew the end at the beginning. God knows the choices and the thoughts that pop up in your head. God knows what decisions you're already going to make. But he's literally calling on you to follow him because he knows if you go that way, nothing good's coming out of it. He knows if you go that way, it's a setback. He knows if you just follow him and have a little bit of faith, blessings are on the other side. A lot of people ask me this, how do I start praying? Or this might sound dumb, but I don't know how to pray. It doesn't sound dumb. It just takes a little discipline and it takes a little bit of consistency. And I personally just want to share a few things that I did to start my walk with God. This is not sponsored. I'm going to put some of the books that I use up above. So daily devotional, get an NLT version of the Bible, and get yourself a journal. I'm going to make a list for you guys right here, and you can screenshot it just to save it in your phone. I really hope this helped because I get a lot of questions on how to start praying, how to start getting closer to God, and it's just a step by step. It's just day by day. The more consistent you are, even if you leave a sticky note, I remember a couple years ago when I first started my journey, I would leave a sticky note on my pillow. I'd wake up, make my bed, write on a sticky note, pray before bed. I knew to pray when I woke up, but sometimes after a hectic day, this might sound bad, but a lot of us just want to relax. You want to throw on the TV, you want to eat your favorite snack, you want to take a hot shower, and you want to go to bed. And a lot of us are so quick to neglect God. It only takes a couple minutes. Just talk to him. Because what I've learned is prayer works, prayer is protection, prayer is preparation, and prayer is guidance. So the more you pray, the more aligned with God's will and purpose for your life you become. Now, everybody that watches my videos knows that I end my videos with a prayer because I never want to leave anybody on the wrong foot. I don't want anyone to be stuck in their head. I don't want anyone to be like, she told me to do this, but I did this and it didn't turn out well. Let's just end in prayer so that God can take us out of this video as we walk forward and guide our steps throughout the days to come. So please bow your head and close your eyes or just watch and I'll pray over you. A prayer for alignment with God. Dear God, I know that sometimes what I want and what you have for me can look very different. I pray that you remove anything and anyone that are not aligned with your will for my life. But I also pray that I do not walk away from anyone or anything that you intended for me to keep. Regardless of what this season may look like, please guide me, correct me, prepare me, and position me for the blessings coming my way. During times of isolation, please develop in me the discipline and obedience I need. During times of transition or loneliness, remind me that it will all be worth it. During times when I want to rush the process, remind me to have patience because one day I will receive more than what I've ever prayed for. I pray that if I question why I have to go through hell, you remind me to trust you because this is for my good and your glory. When I ask why you allowed hurt to enter my life, please remind me that it was meant to help me grow. God says, let me lead because the path I have for you is much more worth the path you're trying to create for yourself. He says, I have something better in mind, so rely on me, trust in me, and just wait. But if you doubt my timing or my ways, keep seeking me, and I will walk with you right where you are. In Jesus' name, amen. I pray that this video blessed you. I pray that those prayers blessed you. And I hope that you'll be back for the next video. Please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And hit that bell notification button to be notified every single time I post. Stay blessed. Love you. Bye.